Hi, everybody. So I have Frank here with me today, and we're going to talk about frequency. And I want to bring up one thing before we start. We started to watch a movie called Frequency last night, and it was with Dennis Quaid. So you can go and look it up. But the reason that he was able to communicate with his son in a 30-year gap with his ham radio was because of frequency. So frequency is how everything is built, and it's built with sound and light. And I think that it's really fun that we're going to talk about it today. So Frank is a songwriter and a singer, and I'm excited to talk to him about this. So hi, Frank.
Hey, how are you?
Hi,
Nice to
good.
see you. Good to see you again, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Um, you want me to just go ahead?
yep, go ahead. Tell us what you have to say today.
I am. I think for those who haven't seen me on uh, any of the broadcasts so far, uh, I have a long history of being involved in both music and a search for that place, is centering of myself. And I think that, everybody, you know, there's a lot of broken people out there. I've had my share of issues over the years that you would call skeletons in the closet that, have come up to bite me. And I think that uh, all of that has been a reflection of the travel and the journey, because as much as I'd like to say a cause and effect, I have my own thoughts about cause and effect, and I think that we have a certain amount of, we create a situation and something happens, but I think if anybody believes about uh, the agreement to come in, right? A lot of people talk about the agreement to come in here, and I think this is something that I'd like to get your take on when you're talking about um, the agreement, and we start talking about evil, and we start talking about good, right?
Mhm.
I wonder what your thought is on when people make an agreement to come in here and they've chosen the path that has to uh, be a road that's not as clean, shall we say? Um, what are your thoughts on that? Because ultimately, it we would all be in this place just sitting around singing "Kumbaya," right? If it wasn't for a lot of that, which whether it gets in our way, and there is a certain amount of people will talk about frequency, and they'll talk about the low frequency versus the high frequency, closer to God, and a lot of people put it that way. Closer to God is a higher frequency, and further away from God is a lower frequency. What's your thoughts on that whole thing? Because I just wanted to get your thoughts on it.
So I see what we're in as a game, and it's a learning game, and some consciousness has been stuck in the game. And I talked about this earlier today in one of my groups because they asked a question and I don't know if they were ready for this answer.
I'm
So
ready.
basically I see it as a game, and we are all souls looking down at a board, and we are creating what is happening. So when you pick your little game piece, you're creating what you're going to be doing in the game. And you're not only talking to yourself or about yourself, you're also talking with the other souls.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are deciding what role are you going to play, because we're learning from it.
Right.
So imagine yourself over the top of a Monopoly game and you're learning from this game, and it's very intricate. But the past has been learning from polarity, learning from the yin and yang, which is more messy and it's harder and it's more painful. But we're
Right.
going into what I would call a being universe now. And we're on the cusp of it. Like we're ascending up into it. And we're going to learn in different ways. And the biggest thing is that we're going to know we're in a learning game.
I, I,
So
ha- I have a
we're
tendency
not
to
going to
agree with this.
experience it as the reality. It'll be a game that we see and we participate in, but we won't feel it as if we've been truly injured. We won't have the forgetting anymore. So that's
Right.
what I see as the way it works.
It's interesting because I share a similar view, and a lot of times we get in conversations with, oh my gosh, how terrible is it that X and Y and Z are happening? And I will, it's not like I want to look at these situations and say that there doesn't need to be something said or done, but I
Mhm.
think that all comes back to how each one of us respond to that which is in front of us. And the more that, and you could see right now that the movement clearly is toward, hey, I don't think I really want to live like this.
Right.
And so the more that we have a tendency to take it within ourselves and move to that next level, and that next level is, I believe it's two different things. It's experiencing what is here, and then it's not about really saying no, it's about making the choices that put you in that frequency that moves you to a level that doesn't see that which is going on that is affecting other people.
Mhm.
And I see a lot of people who, they talk about, but look at all the craziness. And I've written about it. I've done it. I've heard it. I've been in it. And I know that a lot of people are. And I think the only way out of that is through it, and then making choices that are positive. And when I say positive, again, this is a frequency thing. And it's not about, oh, I can't go there. It's about, no, you don't have to go there. You can go here.
Yeah.
And when you go here and you start operating at a frequency of love and compassion, then you start to see that everything else that's around you, this is what manifestation is about,
Hmm.
right? I mean, a lot of
Yes.
people talk about manifestation is, what's the first thing that anybody thinks? Oh, I need a lot of money. That's the first thing anybody thinks about when it comes to manifestation. I want to be, well, what do you really want to be? You want to be secure. You want to be content with your surroundings. You want to be protected and safe, right?
Hmm.
And I think that safety isn't necessarily money, because you see what happened to a lot of people who ended up islands away, shall we say, with money, right?
Right.
And money is not necessarily, and whether it's the root of all evil or whatever is not my, for me to say. Everybody needs it to survive, but I think less and less. And I think that the place that we'll end up is a place that we don't necessarily need as much money,
Hmm.
but what we are finding is that we have the security and the safety. Well,
Yeah.
safety is a strange word, but it means in this particular instance that frequency in which we feel a zen, or we feel a place of contentment and belonging. Right,
Yeah.
belonging is another thing I think that is something that everybody wants to be part of. And what's interesting? I find that people who are stuck in that place um, are want to belong. So they latch on to that which is the closest replica of what they can in their own psyche. You're familiar with Dr. Joe Dispenza, correct? You
Yes.
familiar with
Yeah.
Joe? And he, as far as, I just saw a video of his, and I've known of him for many years, since What the Bleep, and I find that he has that whole aspect of building a rut in the pathways in your brain are what keep you listening to the guy, whatever side it is, whatever place it is, that then forces you. It's really not a forcing; it's an addiction, right?
Hmm. It's a
Which
program.
puts it's a program, and he'll use that word often. That puts you back into that place, and then you start to agree with those people that are around you, and then you start doing things, and then you hear things on TV that say, I should do this, and you see everybody else doing it, and they put beautiful pictures and repetitious images of fear and guilt and blame. So while we're on the subject, there's a segue for a song that I wrote, which is called Addicted. And the song goes like this. It's when you are young, the adults run a program in your mind. They told us not to please ourselves, to keep from going blind. The stories grew so tall, I knew normal became insane. Now we've become addicted to the pleasure of the pain. Passed through generations of worthlessness and shame. Well, once we had a free will, now we'll take the path that's paved. They'll beat you till you can't fight back, and lack is what remains. A child becomes addicted to the pleasure of the pain. When you're young, there's nothing you can do. Being told you're nothing makes it true. 'Cause we've become addicted to the pleasure of the pain. Adrenaline, like heroin, is coursing through my veins. Every bit of who I am wants more and more again. Oh, and it doesn't take a genius to explain. We become la-di-da-dum. La-di-da-dum. So that's
great.
part of the song. And the second verse is, news at 9 has placed the spell of hell inside your head. Subliminal seduction, sadness, war, and death. On and on, the same old song. You try to catch your breath. And after all the damage done, our sense is cold and dead. And then the final chorus is, we become addicted to the pleasure of the pain. Repetitious images of fear and guilt and blame flash across the flat screen, and the message is engraved.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take a genius to explain, which is that little tongue-in-cheek, we are addicted to the pleasure of the pain. That was written before the song that came out that talked a little bit more about the pleasure and the pain. And this song actually was written, I think, about the same time that Mercury was, which we can talk about a little bit later. But this song, we were talking off camera, and this is since we jumped right into it. This song was originally written in an observation of that which was going on, right? So I saw that people, and I mean, you can go back to the 60s, 70s, there's people writing about the same thing. It's not like, you go back to 40s, 30s, 20s, 10s. I'm sure that people were writing this about forever. But I think encapsulating the addiction to the pleasure of the pain is exactly what Dr. Joe Dispenza is talking about, that the pathways in your mind are rutted to the point where until you actually change that, you are almost bound to kind of create the same situation over and over again. Mm-hmm. Now, having said that, a lot of the songs that I have written are somewhat melancholic. There's one that I'd like to bring up later, but and explain that in that song there is hope. In Addicted, the only hope is that you listen to the song and you say, I really don't want to be there anymore, but I get it and I see it. Now I can make a conscious decision to get out of that. And it requires, it doesn't require a quantum leap, right? It doesn't require that to be done immediately, but it does require repetition, because repetition is what got you into where you are. And now the repetition is, again, it's the same thing when you talk about manifestation. It's that repetition of, you've got this pathway in your brain, and then, you just over here, over just a little bit further. Okay, now stay there. Ah, we're back in here. Okay, stay here, and the more you stay in that location, in that frequency, right? Because we're back to that again. Um,
Yes.
Everything is frequency. It's funny. I saw somebody talking online, and they were saying um, something about frequency and God, and getting closer to God is higher frequency, and being further away from God is lower frequency. And I thought, well, two things. One, God created all frequency.
Hmm.
So, how much further you are from God when you're at a low frequency versus a state? Okay, so we're in the third dimension. We're going into other higher dimensions. We're already in the third dimension. We're experiencing the third dimension. If Christ was experiencing the third dimension and was given the same opportunities, right? The whole point of Christ, if we want to talk about the Catholic and the Christian religion and anything that sounds Christ, or just put Christ in that position of a great guru of the time.
Hmm.
He still found himself in the third dimension, in this frequency, and that's what we're experiencing. And I don't think you can get around not experiencing this, but at the same time working toward that level of love and compassion and all those things that go with the higher frequency. The second thing of that was, what if God is frequency? Now you're never away from God. You're always with God. And I'm almost thinking in the beginning, there was the word, and then there was light. So frequency is almost hand in hand congruent with what God would actually be. And if everything came from frequency,
Yeah.
then we're there. Then we're already there. And there's nothing, and this is another, you know, belief that may go slightly against the grain. Um, I believe that God is that we're congruent with God at any given point, and God has created. We are all, it's all encompassing, right?
Yeah.
So we just happen to be in this realm, and this, like you said, I like your analogies and your thoughts on this. That it is, if we treat it like a game, right? And we don't get hung up on, we don't take it personally. Don Miguel Ruiz as well. Don Miguel would always say, don't take things personally. One of the four agreements. Um, when you can do that, and believe me, I'm a guy that has a lot of anxiety that I'm trying to curtail as time goes on. And even though I talk like I know what I'm talking about, I still have a heavy level of anxiety at one point. And so what I've learned to do to actually alleviate that is to put myself in that position of not going back over the same old ground. And that's
Mhm.
part of what has gotten me to a little bit higher ground. So that's pretty much it for that aspect of it. And I think God could very well be frequency. And when I see some people talking about, well, gravity this, gravity that, you can't, you can prove gravity. So and you can't prove God. It's like, well, okay, that's fair. It's
I
fair,
don't think
but
gravity's real.
well, gravity may or
I
may
think
not be
it's
real.
magnetism. And
Hmm.
so that comes to energy as well. So,
Right, right, right.
yeah.
We're right. But if you're gonna say, well, I can prove this over here, and then you have repeatable um, uh, experiments or experiences that show that when you do things X, Y, or Z, if you do things at the Y level, which is heart and compassion and conscious of other, and you get a response, and you can almost prove that that's what you end up with. You end up with a godlike situation. So it's not like it's not repeatable. And usually in that kind of situation, we find that things operate much better. Whether it's a football team going on to win the Super Bowl that happens to be, although in this day and age it's hard to tell who's fixing what, and I don't know, but
He admitted it.
it's far, but you see the level of even crowd collective consciousness, and you see the situation with a team collective consciousness and a crowd collective consciousness that wills themselves beyond the level of um, their capabilities to actually win a Super Bowl. Going back to like the New York Giants who won against the Patriots, and it's like, whoa, how did that happen? It's like the little team that beat the giant, David and Goliath, and you realize that uh, that's what takes you to that level. That brings you to that level, is that level of frequency, but it's not just thinking yourself there. You have to live it, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
really the case.
you do have
And
to
I think
live it.
that's why when people are talking about uh, manifestation, I think there's God helps those who help themselves. I refer back to God most of the time because it's kind of a way central point that kind of puts people in a perspective of we have we're part of a whole, regardless of what you want to believe. We're part of a whole, and
Mhm.
that whole is what collectively kind of binds us. And when the whole is collectively operating on all eight cylinders, we find that the congruency is when there's a lot of that frequency that's at that level.
Yeah.
So, do you want to ask me any questions?
I want to ask you, how did you start to get into the music and the writing? Because it is frequency. So, what inspired you to do it?
Well, I think when I was younger, my cousin Vito, who is a musician who's
Mhm.
absolutely accomplished and plays with a lot of the greatest musicians that have lived. Him and I were young, and we played together, and he did his thing on the guitar, and I was doing more things vocally and lyrically, I think. And the the one thing I have to go back on is my mother, who used to sit at the sink and in the house, and she would wash the dishes or she'd be doing whatever because she was old school, and
Mhm.
her voice was, I don't believe anything but perfect pitch. I can't imagine. And when I go back there and I listen in my mind to what it was, and remember the set of circumstances that I was in, I would listen to her and I'd be like, man, that woman can sing. Like, she absolutely, everything that she sang from the older days, right, was spot on. And I think I picked up a lot of the uh, bred DNA esque um, kind of upbringing from her, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it started, and then as time went on, um, I think I became more interested in observations around, right? I think I've always been interested in observing that which is around me. I remember running
Mhm.
off the bus, and I probably have told this story on here once before. And I remember running off the bus, and I remember thinking about forever. And this was like this expansive feeling that felt like fear, but I don't think it was. As I go back, it felt like and I have never jumped out of an airplane, but I can only imagine that's what it feels like, that
Mhm.
complete um, expansive freedom to be unlocked from that which is around you. And I remember that um, one of the things that happened to me when I ran to the house, I couldn't find anybody, and there was a little bit of what I felt was abandonment in that whole situation.
Mhm.
But in the feeling, so now you had this dichotomy where there's these two feelings that turned a little bit into fear. Um, but the observations have taken place, and I think in a lot of cases over the years they've been a little bit more fearful in a certain sense, just part of my upbringing and nature, because I've had a couple things that happened when I was a kid that I think led me to that.
Mhm.
And so I do have trepidation when I see certain things that happen, and then I always have this other aspect, which is the part that I think is the fish in water, that Monica would have told you about. And for those who don't know who Monica is, she's a guru who just is brilliant when it comes to healing and when it comes to her own observations. And she talked to my mother after my mother passed. She talked to another friend after they passed, and there was irrefutable evidence that that she had spoken to these people, because it was information that she gave me that was only privy to myself. But I almost forgot what I was going to say. Monica and I have this tendency to observe and see, and there. Why did I bring her up? Do you know?
I don't know, but you're getting to the point where you're talking about why you're basically like a poet. So you're
Right.
observing and you're creating
Right.
your
So this
songs. Yeah.
observation, right. So this observation now is starting to take on form. It had to do with hope, I think. And there is this fish and water, right? Fish and water
Right.
is where I was. So fish and water, she's always told me, you think that you're not connected, but you're always connected, and it's hard. And I'm looking for somebody that has passed, or Jesus, to stand right in front of me, and I can touch them and I can see them, and I think that there's a different level for me, and I think that I experience more of the 3D for a reason. Like I experience here and now because I'm already there to a certain extent in experiencing that which is love from within, and a compassion and a love for all people. I when I first meet somebody, it's always, hey, what's up? There's nothing wrong with that person until something might be wrong, or there's never anything wrong with that. And I'm always like, man, this is the best thing since sliced bread. This is awesome. Everything is awesome when it comes to experiences, because it can be simple. It does, conversations in the grocery store that turn into such a divine moment with somebody from an older group, a younger group, and just the experiences that take place are, to me, very special. So I've kind of taken that and wrapped it into being able to write metaphorically and straightforward as well, and put it in a prose that I think people like to listen to. And I think that's been part of how I got to where I am. And
Yeah.
I started with a song called Where I've Been, and I don't think it's the first song I wrote. It was another song way back, but this is back 20, 25 years ago, and this was one of the first, and the song seems to be a song that a lot of people resonate with, and I'll truncate it a little bit, but it's one that I had it recorded, and I did it in my home recording, and I put it together so it sounds, relatively cohesive as a band. And the kids that used to work for me, they were probably a good 15 years younger than I was at the time, would always ask me to put it on when we went out for a ride. And I thought it was cool. I almost felt embarrassed to a certain extent, because I had a lot of worthiness issues, and I felt it weird that they wanted to listen to a song that was written by a guy who was a lot older, and I didn't realize how timeless the song is. But it's a song, it could be you, it could be me, it could be one of life's little mysteries. I'm trying hard to carry on, but just then the baggage it got weighted down, and west wind blowing now, change is coming round. Rest your weary head, 'cause I don't know where I've been. It's hard to go against the grain. Glaring judgment pins you to insane. But deep inside you're you're feeling right. The mask upon the outside keeps from letting in the light. And west wind blowing now, change is coming round. Rest your aching head, 'cause I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know where I've been. Don't know, don't know, don't know where I've been. And the time keeps moving on, and the crime's already done. As you sit in silence, you are on your own. But it's the only road I've known. I've weathered the storm, and I'm not of the norm. A million miles from conventional, I was reborn. I gave it all to find the truth. Broke the mold where lies were held to free me from my youth. I searched inside to find the hidden child and said, I know it's not your fault, so step into the light. Rest your weary head, change is coming now. West wind's blowing, and I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know where I've been. Don't know, don't know, don't know where I've been. I don't know, don't know, don't know where I had been. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know where I'd been.
So good.
I played it. I played it at like 45, but yeah, that and Liam. It's funny because and for those who don't know who Liam is a guy who's been on the show before. He's been on his own show, and Liam is another musician, son of me, and he's great. You know, he's he's a guy who has had some tools and who has at a young age, we won't say mastered, but he's in the process of mastering the capabilities that you would expect somebody. He has no question about. He has no question about God. He has no question about all of those things that
Mhm.
would lead you to the spiritual level. Excuse me one second. We're gonna have to take. You might have to cut this out because I gotta fix myself. I got.
Right, we're back.
So yeah, I mean, if you caught any of that, that's what it is. Um, but he gravitated toward this song to be one of the songs that he would work on, and so we're in the process of actually improving on what I had already done back then, and improving the mixing aspect of this whole thing.
Good. I'm
So that
excited for
song
that.
so that song will come out, and we got another song which is Billboard Country, which I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but it's a nice it's a catchy little song about that which is country esque, and if taking all those things and putting them into what would be called the Billboard country song,
Right.
and like a Billboard country song, my ceiling fell, my tractor died, my rabbit wouldn't start, my trailer leaks, my floorboards creak, and I can't even afford Walmart. Oh, the shape I'm in is such a sin. Heaven knows just where I've been. My life is long, it's all gone wrong, like a Billboard country song. And that's that. So I mean, we don't just write about these esoteric things. We do have a little fun with life.
That's good.
And I think you need to, there's so many heavy things that are going on, and I think I've spoken about this in the past, and I said I think we got to experience some of that, because you see so many people online looking for so many answers, and it's, I have pain here, I have pain there, and a lot of people, my hair is gone, um, a lot of people end up uh, talking about how it's a sign of the awakening, and I believe that that's true, and I believe that, thank goodness, there are a lot of people out there who are looking to help
Mm.
people, because this in this day and age, there's so much information being just thrown at you on the internet. And
Yeah.
there's so much artificial intelligence now with what's being put out there, that I think it's, if I look at another ad from Musk, and hear him selling some kind of you know financial thing, I'm like, all this stuff is just absolutely crazy, and it's hard to tell what's what. But there are people out there who are looking at, but if you keep in the line of that which is in the frequency of um, the positivity in the heart, I think you have a tendency to kind of look over that and just go, okay, all right, I'm going to pass on that. And
Mhm.
some of this stuff I'm looking at, and the TV is just the thing that I do not watch. I don't care who watches it, but I can only say, if you choose to put your eyes on the TV, and it's not like I don't see it. My dad and I sit down and watch Wheel of Fortune every once in a while,
Right.
and Jeopardy, right? And I have no choice but to watch the commercials in between. And there's shaming commercials, and there's shaming news, and there's fear in everything. And that's where Addicted came from, was watching just a half an hour of insanity on what
Mhm.
whoever they are, want you to know. It's not what you need to know. It's what we want to tell you, so that you can learn to be like us, and that's not necessarily in your best interest. It doesn't
Mhm.
get you closer, to safety or feeling good about yourself. It usually ends up causing you to raise the question on whether you need to wear galoshes in the morning or not, and you have to turn on the TV to find out.
Yeah.
I don't know what I should do,
Because you
and
can't look out the window.
right, and I mean, keep the galoshes in the car. But I
Mhm.
mean, that's kind of the way I see that things have gone, and you know what? I look at it, and I look at it as another form of entertainment. And if you get caught up in it, I've been able. That's another thing I must say. I've been able to take the bait from the hook, I think, at a much earlier age. And instead of looking at things and being caught up in them, there's some things that I have these delusional thoughts on, that are, that I think could happen to me, like a cop coming down the road and sending me a ticket in the mail. That's it's absurd sometimes, and you through my anxieties.
Mhm.
But there's another side of this that's totally grounded, that sees things during the last 5 years, shall we say, when
Mhm.
I was observing a lot of the things that were happening. I have a tendency to be able to see patterns that are going on, and when I see the pattern, and I look and I go, well, wait a minute. No, 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 no. I don't see it that way, because it seems to me that there's something behind this that's not necessarily for our best interest. And
Right.
and there's been so many things that have happened, and a lot of it starts with the I think with the social media and the internet, and where we need to kind of just put our own brains, put our own mind, and rise above that which uh, you know is three-dimensional, but at the same time you got to live it. You got to live it, and you have to be able to take the bait from the hook. And I think that's the only way that you can truly ascend is
Yeah.
by experience. That's just
I
my thoughts.
laugh at it. It's so funny to me, some of the stuff on the television.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really watch anything except for there's one show that I'm watching right now,
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek Discovery.
Mm-hmm.
And I wait, comes out on Thursday and I'll watch it.
Right.
And that's a lot of fun for me because it's actually showing us things that
Mm-hmm.
are like disclosure and all of that. But
Right.
we're there are things on the TV, but not necessarily on like the regular channels.
Right. Oh,
But
I'm not
yeah,
against TV. I'm not against well, I am against programming, but
yes,
I'm not against TV. And I think that there's a lot of things that could be very positive with the experience. I just think when you look at it as a whole, and right now, and for the past 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years, it's been
yeah,
designed to, I think, formulate and form uh, that which we are supposed to think. And I don't think that that's necessarily in our best interest.
mm-mm,
It's just a thought of my own. But there are I like sports, so I'll watch. It's getting down to crunch time in the playoffs, and with the hockey, and I like to catch some of the games that are on. And I'm not going to sit there and say, oh my God, I can't look.
no,
But at the same time, I can look at it and go, I spent, it was, oh gosh, 2011 to 2015ish, maybe it was 2013 to 2018, whatever it was a period of little or no TV. Maybe I saw the Super Bowl, and when I came back and saw TV, I was amazed because it was as if I was watching a foreign land, a foreign substance. It just,
yeah,
I said, my gosh, it was like getting stuck on a trip and going to a different country, and then seeing what I felt was almost a play like situation where people are trying to sell you something, whether they were actually, and everybody's monetizing, I get that, but this was about, if you don't, you're going to be left without. If you
hmm,
don't do this, you're going to be left without. If you don't do that, and I'm thinking, my gosh, this thing has gotten awfully crazy, and it was comical. And then there were certain times when I would watch, from a distance, and I would hear things, and I just would get absolute. I could feel the tension, as if, the frequencies that are being passed along. I don't. I don't think people really understand that level, right, where things could very well be right in front of you that
hmm,
are passing along, if there are negative frequencies, and there are, in that sense, that don't are not harmonious,
yeah,
that can affect you. And if it's coming through the TV, coming through the internet, coming through wherever, I mean, you got to just be cognizant of, if you don't feel good in a certain realm, whatever that is, that you might want to take a look at those things around you, and what you're eating. I mean, I can't even
yeah.
go there. That's a
That's
whole
a whole
different.
nother
That's
wormhole.
Yeah, I could write a song about that. But but I don't like, one thing about writing music, though, that I don't like to do, is I don't like to grandstand as much. Like, I'd rather write about the the topic, but not get caught up in well, this is good, this is bad, da 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 da. Mercury, history is memory. This is a song that you have the video, and you put the link, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the
History
link below. And you can
History.
follow Frank on his YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I'll put more things up because like I said about the songs that are coming up. But Mercury, history's memory is fading. Oh, oh. Social ineptitude's prevailing. Yeah. All of the masks they've worn were decided by the norm. And that song, it has its, the hook in it is politics is our pawn, politics is our po, and it's a double. So it's how I view how politics has become. I mean, I don't know when it was normal, but
I
you
don't
know what
think
I'm saying.
ever.
I don't know if politics has ever been normal. I know everybody's. I think there's a lot of people who get involved in politics for all the right reasons,
Yeah.
and they're looking to help people. And then I think it just get. I think when you're part of the club, it's what it is, and
Mm-hmm.
it's and that's. But I think we as time goes on, we as a collective group, you have to decide whether that's something that you want to be part of. You want to keep clicking the switch and saying, "Oh no, the lesser of the two evils." Oh no, no. And I mean, I can't even begin to talk about what that leads you to because I don't have to. I can just say, take a look around, right?
Yeah.
And then you take a look and you say, well, um, is this the kind of world we want to live in, or do we want to find a place that has more, more cohesiveness rather than division, which always seems to be passed down and trickles down from the top? And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that's really a very positive way for us to treat our brother and sister because we're all in this boat together, and I think more so we have so much more in common until you start hearing the parroting that goes on and well this that and the other thing whatever that is. I mean I don't need to be specific because everybody knows what that parroting is all about. And I think whether you talk about cognitive dissonance, right, which is you're stuck in your mind and you don't want to change because you don't know how, or you think that I think it's a safety issue again. It's
Yeah.
I'm safe here, but you don't realize the amount of damage that's being done by you staying where you are. And there's other people, and I think, collectively, I think that's starting to take, the balance is becoming in favor of a much more positive outcome at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because I think this is another thing. As I had sat and watched over the years, 10 years, let's say, I've seen, this graph, right, uh, and then all of a sudden, in a very short period of time, it kind of did this, and now, but if you look at the collective has gone from this, and now the collective is coming, and I think as this has gone down, the collective has gone up. And if
Mm-hmm.
anybody, I may be very cryptic, but I think the reason I'm cryptic is because I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. That this collective resurgence. Maybe it's not even a resurgence. When were we ever really at a point where we weren't asleep, except for maybe way back when? And they talk. I see a lot of your things talking about
Mm-hmm.
the different times in history that have been erased. And
Right.
I can't say for sure, but I believe it makes a lot more sense because you have so much time and you have so much um, uh, time in between
Mm-hmm.
these different events that have happened that it makes sense where that could happen. And you look at Chernobyl now, and that is coming back, nicely and isn't as bad as everybody thought it was going to be. So a situation where you thought something was going to be ruined for years and years and years, as George Carlin would say, the planet is doing just fine.
Yeah.
I mean, he
And
also said
she
a couple
will.
other things.
She'll continue to do
Yeah,
fine.
and we're the
Mm-hmm.
ones that have to be careful of our own existence because we need to take care. We don't have to take care of Mother Earth. Mother Earth will be here, and but you know what? maybe the Mother Earth that we're talking about, that we're part of as time goes on here, is is new and improved based on
Yes.
all that has already happened. Maybe Mother Earth's consciousness is saying, "Hey, it's exactly what the doctor ordered, and this is exactly where we need to be." So it's
Hmm.
hard for me to really judge any of what's already happened, except for to keep working on the inside of my own self and make sure that I pass along that level which I feel is respect and love and caring to people around me. And I think the more people that do it, and say no thanks to those things that are, maybe plaguing us, I think that's the cure.
Yeah, it is within, going within, dealing with your own stuff, being respectful of yourself, and then respectful of others too.
Right.
And the fish in water thing has been coming up quite a bit. And what you're doing there is you're feeling the collective consciousness
Hmm.
and you're
I believe
filtering
it.
that, and then you're creating music.
Right. And I
So,
I mean, every once in a while I feel I'm going through a little bit of a writer's cramp, and Monica handed me a subject last night for a friend of hers, and it's funny because I told you about this. This is like this little key to the lock, and I open the door, and out this stuff comes, and
mm-hmm,
it's very interesting to see how I've been blessed, fortunate. I've had the key for many years, and it's a there's where I'm the fish. There's where I'm the fish in water, mostly where I say, well, I don't. Jesus hasn't walked in front of me and hasn't said hello. I haven't shaken his hand, but I have the key to the box that is part of that which is divine, and that part is the part that I happen to have access to.
mm-hmm.
So I can't. I shouldn't be sitting here saying, "Oh well, I'm critical sometimes. I'm critical, and I think like anybody else. My God, why hast thou forsaken me? Where am I? I feel alone. I feel abandoned. Where am I? Where are you? Where are you? I'm right here. I'm inside. I am
Mm-hmm.
part of you. You are part of me. We are all part of the same. And I think that was, you know, one of the things that I kind of formulated over the recent history is, we were taught in the very beginning to, and I was brought up Christian, so that's kind of what I gravitate more toward,
Mm-hmm.
um, without the control, and it's about what Christ may have said, but I know some of his stuff has been bastardized. Excuse the French, but I know that it has, because I just at one point he's saying something very valuable, and then the next minute he's telling you're going to go to hell, and I don't know as if all of that is part of what Jesus originated. And I am the way, the truth, and the life. Is I am the way. Yeah, you want to be Christ-like? All you got to do is follow the frequency,
Mm-hmm.
and you are no different. And you are now at that level, and I think that's you know where we all need to go, is
Yeah.
to that level. And
Well,
we've
and
been
we're all
given the
moving
keys.
into it, you know.
Yeah, and I think so.
Um,
I think a lot of people don't really have a choice, even though I mean, and I talked to there's another fellow online that I um, occasionally respond to, and it's like, well, another 20,000 years of being, we'll call it purgatory, that kind of thing, I'll say, well, what the heck is another 20,000 years in eternity? You know, timeless. Bashar talks about there is no time.
right.
Everything's happening at once. All of everything is just a number of different outcomes based on the infinite possibilities. And then there's this, you add time to it, and what's the difference? We're gonna be someplace somehow anyway. So another song that I wrote was um, this, and it's as simplistic as that, but it also has the message, um, someday I'm gonna get where I'm going, but for right now I'm gonna enjoy the ride. Sometimes you gotta walk through the fire, step out on the wire, and never look down. River flows, a million tears have fallen. Somewhere on the radio, they're calling out my name. And that's, that's really my philosophy.
Mhm.
Where, yeah, sometimes you actually have to work at it. Sometimes you got to step out on the wire. You familiar with Philippe Petit and the walk on the Twin Towers? This is something that was in my childhood. It's 1974. He walked between the Twin Towers, and it's a story. It's man on wire. That it was his sentence, right? And when I think about the gumption that somebody would have had to actually walk between the Twin Towers, and dance in front of the police with only the bar, no tether, not like the new guys, right?
Right.
And this guy did this. That it's absolute, like there is no looking back once you step onto that wire. And now, how are you going to dance? How are you going to actually put that in your life that is going to be a little spice? You can be safe all day long. You can be safe all day long. You can go out. You can get a job. You can have a pension. You can do it exactly like the book says and work for the man and do all those things that put you there. And or you can fail, you can succeed, you can fail, you can succeed, you can put roll the bones a little bit, roll the dice, and find yourself in a place that you could say at the end of this rainbow, I called all the shots. I paid attention, I did what I could. And you want to know something? I'm a good example of failure, and I considered, like, the stage that I'm in right now success, regardless of if I become a triple platinum seller. I still look at the body of work, and I go, you know what, it's cool.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the work. And there's a lot of other people that are enjoying it, and I I can't ask for more. I feel this is all divine timing too. And this is the time. This is the time where um, I think, as a lot of people say, we've all been brought to the table, right? This is our time. Yeah, we're all here
Yes.
for a reason. Right? And I believe that too.
Hmm. It's totally true.
Yep.
Yep. I
That's
love it. So
so. That's my story for today, and I'm going to stick with it.
it's
And
beautiful.
I would like to, as I get a couple more things put together, I'd love to do I'd love for Monica to do a show on her own. Um,
Mhm.
but I have no problem with coming back and hanging with her. It'd be great to
Yeah, and I would love to, for you to give us updates when your songs come out
Yeah, I
so
will.
that I can share them because I think people are really going to appreciate. I know they really appreciated the last show that we did and your
Yeah,
music.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
very happy, and I'm glad that all of the people who have responded to me and Monica, they couldn't really respond to me because they didn't have my email, but they responded to Monica, which just to me was so flattering to have them reach out. And I will give you my email, and I will give you the contact so you can put the YouTube site. And then as time goes on, we
Yeah.
got a SoundCloud site, and we're gonna ramp up. So over the next month or so, we'll be fully operational. But in the meantime, I can give you my email too, in case anybody wants to say hello.
Lots of fun. Lots of fun. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Frank. I'm very excited to see what happens in the future because to me, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be sharing music and art and creating, and he's creating frequency.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's divinely guided. So I think it's a beautiful thing. And create your own frequency too. Go out there and create your own frequency. Even if you're humming or
Mm.
you're drawing or whatever you're doing, just enjoy it and kind of be free with it. Let it flow.
Well,
So, yeah.
one thing about that, and Monica has, she feels that she can't sing it, and she's a little off key. And I say, but you want to know something?
Yeah.
You got to let your own voice, in order to actually get to the point where you can feel your voice, you have to let it out. And
Hmm.
once you let it out, I believe anybody could learn to do what I do, except that I think that it's all about inhibition, right? And you're held back. But I think that anybody who's out there, who's watching this show, has the capabilities of reaching the levels of freedom, and that's the key. I think freedom to speak your mind is really where you want to go with this.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yep. Love it. Thank you, Frank. Thanks
You're
everybody
welcome.
for watching.
Enjoy, and we'll see you the
Bye.
next time. Take care.